Okay, the next one, as well as being an intellectual, I'm also an activist.
Hmm.
And, this is the person who feels God like through the tug of conscience, who's attracted to causes, who, um, you know, experiences God in righteousness, probably in fighting injustice,
Mhm.
in service, and, becomes alive in the cause. I think that's probably the best way to say it, becomes
Mm.
alive in the cause. And I remember years ago, this is when I was at college, and I was kind of, just going through what I call tenderly my atheist phase, because I was like,
Mm.
nah, there's nothing out there, right? And I
Right.
had to go to a conference in Edinburgh, and I was living in London, so I took a 6-hour train ride to go all the way to Edinburgh. And at the bookstore, I saw this book, and it was like excerpts from the diaries of nuns from the 7th century to today. like, who
Wow.
would buy that book and read it? Well, I did. And so I'm sitting on the train and I'm like, I'm so absorbed by it, by their experience. And, here's the non religious person, completely entranced. I got to Edinburgh. I saw my friends. They said, "Oh, we're all going out. There's a party. Do you want to come?" And I go, "You know what? I think I'll just stay back here at the flat and read this book." And they looked at it and they go like, "Why are you reading that?"
Wow.
But what I got from that book was, wow, I want to be a nun. It was such a bizarre, because I
Wow.
realized, like, I was in touch with the sense that, I found something in myself through causes. And I realized, wow, these nuns, well, they're, they have the biggest cause there is.
Mhm.
They're working for God. You
Yeah.
gotta think. And then I remember thinking, like, oh, I wish I could believe in God. And,
Wow.
and I recognize my whole life, like, I studied to be a nurse. I'm an RN, and I wanted to work for the World Health Organization because I was drawn to that kind of like service and to global ideas and to big things. And that is really my spiritual style, because that's what I do.
Mm.
That's what I do when I have nothing. Like, I just find a new cause. Like, but it's how, I think of people like Dr. Martin Luther King,
Mhm.
deeply religious man and leader. That, I'm sure his spiritual, well, he'll have to take the survey, is to be an activist, right?
Right.
We just have a few more. There's the caregiver. And this to me is someone who just experiences God as they care for others.
Mm.
And I think that experience is really like God working through them. When you take care of someone, it's almost like something beyond yourself. It's a through me experience. You feel something coming through you. You could even feel this tremendous, overwhelming love for this person that is actually, you feel, oh, that's even beyond myself.
Mhm.
And that's how you experience God, in the caring. And whereas the aesthetic may want to spend time alone and experience God in that way, you best experience the divine as you live in the world and care for others. And it's
Mm.
like every way is valuable. There is no right or wrong spiritual style. It's like we are a combination of all of these things. But as you understand yourself, you can understand the value of who you are, and also the nature that you have, and want to invest in nurturing that part of yourself.
Mhm.
Because sometimes people want to contribute, but they feel like, well, I don't know what to contribute. I don't know what I can give. I'd say to the caregiver, care for people.
Mm.
There's always someone in your environment that could use your care. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we got, how many more do we got here? We
We
got
just got,
two more?
we got
Yeah.
3. I'll be very quick. I'll go
Oh
through
no, that's
them. This
okay.
is a long time.
There's no regulation on the podcast. Yeah, I'm really curious.
Okay, I didn't know if you had to have like an advertisement break halfway through or
Oh,
something.
no advertisers. We've got 4 subscribers on YouTube,
Oh,
but
that's great.
I'm hoping that it grows quickly.
It will.
It
It
will.
will. If you just put good stuff out there, and the people that are meant to find this are going to find it.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
so no worries there. So I also thought about you for this one because I was thinking about Hillsong. You know,
Mm,
Hillsong is a great expression of this spiritual style, and the people who go there and enjoy it and just, they don't actually go there to sing songs. Of course they sing, but
mhm,
actually they go there to feel God,
mhm,
and the music creates and, opens them to that experience. And in singing, they lose themselves and connect to something beyond themselves.
mm.
And, for the enthusiast, that is a beautiful experience. And I'm just curious because I know you've written songs, you've written spiritual songs, and I'm wondering if you identify with this particular spiritual style.
I'm not sure. I'm still learning about myself.
That's good.
I'm not sure. I think that's one of my big goals. Like I want to create anthem music for.
Okay.
So this is good for me to learn about the that there is a style that kind of probably prospers and blooms in big crowds
In
singing a
that
big
environment.
anthem.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, songs like what's that? How Great Thou Art. That's a
Oh
great
yeah,
example of an anthem where everyone's singing it together in that crescendo, and then it just naturally brings people into that kind of experience of awe and wonder, as the words in the song say. So
yeah.
yeah, there's definitely and also thinking about how you can meet people in their spiritual style, because I don't want to give the wrong impression like there's absolutely nothing wrong with religion. Like, I appreciate religion. Hey, I'm an intellectual. I appreciate religion, all theologies, but because they teach us, they guide us, they inspire us. But when we think about our spiritual style, it's about kind of going inside of ourselves and just asking ourselves what really touches us, nourishes us, and supports our growth, whatever environment that we're in life. Okay, this next one's probably you, I hope. I'm thinking. I
I,
don't
I
know. I don't hope. I just think
I
maybe.
don't know.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay. This is the contemplative. And this is someone who forms new expressions of faith through processing their insights and using their creativity to express them. So it might take the form of songwriting, it might take the form of journaling, it might take the form of creating art, but you have an inspiration, like a spiritual insight, a spiritual inspiration, and then you want to communicate that, or you want to kind of ground that into yourself. And the way you do that is by creating. And so you write songs, you journal, you manifest, you take that inspiration and you manifest it in whatever way fits, your personality, your talents, your gifts, or whatever. And so you thrive in almost like a mystical relationship with God, and express your communion with the creator by fashioning your thoughts into like form as objects of truth in a way that
Mhm.
reveal something about the divine nature. So,
That's it.
so Joe, is that you?
That's gotta be it. Oh yeah. You would never know it by looking at me, but I really think a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot, and I think it's you wouldn't know that because I'm, singing and pretty jovial person. I don't wear the typical, let's say, or stereotypical outfit or disposition of somebody who's thinking all the time. But I actually, but I am thinking a lot.
Yeah.
It just I have an inner world, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm saying that just as I've learned this about myself over the last 20 years, right? I realized it came up in in a marriage way, because my wife kind of pointed out you have like all these thoughts and ideas, but it's like your inner world, and it would be, sometimes I forget to say them or communicate them, like
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice for her. I think she and I've gotten closer and closer and closer. It's really amazing to see our journey. But she has come to kind of really sort of accept or understand that I've got this whole inner world of, you know, analogies and metaphors and poetry and just swirling around in there. And definitely what your description just felt like 100%. That's how I
Okay.
feel. I feel God when I get to contemplate, and I like to wrestle with a question, and dig in and try to find some little nugget of truth, of
Yep.
insight. I don't want to give a sermon on I don't want to give a sermon on it's good to have gratitude in your life, and then because that was the first sermon on our living room. There's only one sermon on there. And I struggled. I was up at 3 a.m. I was thinking, I don't just want to say it's good to have gratitude in your life. I want to know how to get more gratitude in my life.
Yeah.
And I was up for 3 hours from 3 a.m. to about 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
thinking about what is it that could give us a how to actually garner more gratitude. But I
Mm.
won't go into that. You can watch it on the thing. But that is totally me. I'm
That's totally,
really,
yeah.
really
That's
digging
good.
in there
Good.
in the
Good.
contemplative way.
Excellent. And the next one is me, and that's the intellectual.
Mm.
And this person like experiences God through studying, through scripture, theology, history, and science, like whatever. So I am a podcast junkie because I find myself, I always have to learn. I have way too many books in my house. In fact, like one of my kind of goals in the next month is to like cut them by 50%. It's very
Oh,
hard.
no, you'll never be able. That's so hard. Even for me, that's really hard.
I know because I see something like, oh yes, I need to read that, and then I think my Audible account has like 400 plus books on it,
Oh,
like
oh my
but
goodness.
but it's I experience God in words. I'll read a sentence and it lights me. I feel the energy, I feel the inspiration. You feel, or that creativity that comes like, oh my gosh, I just thought about this, and then it'll spin off this whole other creative design,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of going down that rabbit hole.
Oh, I love that. And I just want to highlight something. I just like how I relate to this one too. It's not intellectual for the sake of just let me absorb more knowledge. It's
Right,
some kind of thing that happens with the give and take with the words on the page, and then there's some voice or some presence that comes in between you and the page and gives you
right.
ideas and these spin-off ideas, and so I think that's so interesting to kind of hone in on. It's not just as there's some people who read a lot, but you can kind of feel that it's like a cerebral exercise for them. It may not
Right.
actually be there. So you can be an intellectual, but not be a spiritual style intellectual.
Correct. Yes. It's kind of like a different facet of intellectualism.
So I could be a super bookworm, super smart guy,
Yeah.
and then come to find I'm actually an enthusiast. I want to go to a church worship service
Yeah.
with 10,000 people, and that's what lights up my
Mm.
spirit. But my hobby or my
Mhm.
profession is about being. So is what I'm saying kind of possible or makes sense that
Oh,
you're
absolutely.
yeah.
And I think what's important is to recognize, and those I've kind of gone through the 9 spiritual styles, that actually we're all unique and we have a unique expression of spirituality in the world. And I feel like the divine or life or the universe, whatever you want to call it, can do something unique through you, utilizing your spiritual style, but also it's your way to connect to something bigger than yourself.
Hmm.
And, I've noticed that, while I would describe myself naturally as an activist and as an intellectual, just in the same way you have like a baseline personality of sorts.
Mhm.
That's my kind of like resting place, those
Mm,
two styles. But I think the big thing for me that studying about spiritual styles has opened up is to recognize that we're all unique and there's
mm,
no right or wrong way to connect to God. That, we, and also to respect your nature,
mhm.
because I think sometimes we feel pushed. Oh, well, why don't you do this? Or, aren't you going to fast? Or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
it's really important to respect your own spiritual nature and develop that and give yourself permission to develop that and then find ways to develop that part of yourself. And
I
in
can't
the
imagine how many family tensions were created over, just even between parents and children. If the children didn't have the same
oh,
spiritual
absolutely.
style, it looks like they're just not spiritual, and that's not good, right?
Right. That is the judgment. And this is why I love this kind of topic, is because the judgment we immediately make upon ourselves or others is, well, they're not spiritual.
Mhm.
And that's simply not true. If we recognize that we all have that internal invisible part of ourselves, our mind, our consciousness, our spirit, whatever you want to call it, then we are all spiritual beings living
Wow,
in a
this
physical
this
world.
is this is so amazing. One of my dearest, closest friends, and he'll know who he is when he hears this. He kind of sees himself, or has been sort of labeled as like not a spiritual guy.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
I'm just not a spiritual guy.
Mm,
But I keep telling him I don't agree with that, and now
mm,
I have more ammunition. It's just,
right.
yeah, it's your spiritual style that you haven't what that you're not.
They haven't
We don't know what
maybe,
your style is.
or maybe you were told early on in life that that wasn't being spiritual, or
Yeah.
you were, and so you kind of dismiss that.
Mhm.
And I think it's really important to respect our spiritual styles because I'm very moved by my husband. He will contemplate for a long time, like one question he has, and he'll go for hours and, you know, walk in nature. And it's his go to place to be able to think, to reflect. And he has all these deep questions. And, I could, you could say, well, I'm a religious person and do many devotions or many different things. But actually, taking that walk in the woods and contemplating this bit of truth you're trying to uncover
Mm,
is just as deeply religious as anything else.
mm,
And I think that exploring this topic can really free people, and free people to become who they are and to own who they are and to, and also to support other people in their journey. So there is actually a survey, like I'll be doing a workshop on November 12th and exploring this topic. And there's a survey that you can do to help you understand your spiritual style. And then we kind of discuss different ways that you might nurture that so that, you can, whether you want to call it worship God, know God, get in touch with the divine, feel life working through you, however you want to describe it, that you can develop that ability within yourself. And I especially like what you said, Joe, about being aware of family members if you have children, because we do often, as a parent, you kind of want your kids to be like you, and they're not.
right.
And it's a journey to understand, oh, actually, they're so different from me, and to support how they are being, not
Right.
how you are being or how you want them to be.
I feel like this would give a lot of comfort to a lot of parents,
Yeah.
or parents to be,
Hmm.
because there you can rest a little more assured. You can give some breathing space here that
Yeah.
as long as we support them,
Hmm.
to the best that we can, that they we have this many options for how to grow the spirit and how to communicate with God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I don't blame anybody. You're not, these are not things that we were, been taught, you know,
Right.
So I don't point a finger of judgment to past generations or anything like that may have, freaked out a little bit if their kid didn't, hated going to
Yeah,
church or praying or something.
right.
If you're not aware, if you think that's the only way to do it, then of course that's
Hmm.
a point of concern. But now I think this is kind of a new era kind of opening up.
I think it is. I think people are more free to express themselves as, well, I'm spiritual, as opposed to identifying with a certain religious group. And then also, within traditions, there's always some kind of pressure. I mean, I grew up in the Catholic Church, and you feel that pressure to conform. And, belonging is very important in people's lives. Like, I'm a big fan of belonging in community. And so, I support religious communities, but I think it's also important to experience the freedom that I believe that God gave each one of us.
Yeah, I absolutely. I think what I've been just really thinking about recently is religion. My relationship to religion is that it can serve a great purpose, and
Mm-hmm.
it can be a place where you have like-minded people that want
Yeah.
to strive for bettering their lives or becoming better people or families. But there's a problem when you supplant, and replace, like, well, because I just do this church thing, that takes care of my inner journey.
Yeah.
That's not actually, there's two different things. There's the spiritual and inner journey, and then there's finding like-minded families and people around you, and that could be the church experience. So I'm not an anti-church or anti-religious, or
Right.
some people go on a real soapbox with, organized religion is the bane of the world,
Yeah.
it's so evil. Well, churches do a lot of good,
They
for a lot of
do.
people, but it doesn't completely replace the kind of uh, facet of our lives that calls us to do inner
Yeah.
connection to God. They're
Mm-hmm.
different things. You can connect to God without ever stepping into a church. And you can step into a church without really feeling God. so, so,
That's true. I know. I've
yeah,
done that.
yeah. So I feel like when you put both together, it's a great experience. Like, I'm personally
Yeah.
taking responsibility to grow my spirit, to feel more connection to a higher power. But I would
Mm-hmm.
also like my Sundays to be connecting with other families. And when you put them together, I feel like that could be really something special. Um,
Definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. I'd like to read that quote that I read at the beginning again by James Houston, if I could, because
Absolutely.
it kind of wraps it up beautifully. And, he was just, he's a theologian, but he was encouraging us to be authentic with God. And he said, we can't simply meet God as others meet him, because God will only meet us in the authentic place, that place within ourselves that is unprocessed, candid, and sincere. And I think that just reminds me of the importance of pursuing that search through your own spiritual style and spiritual nature to to connect with the divine, or to life, to the universe. So,
Well, I think that's a good place to leave it
is
off.
that a good place to leave it off?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to let people know if they'd like to attend that workshop. It's going to be November 12th. I haven't put the dates up yet on the website, but you can email me at heather@beingwholehearted.com, and then I can let you know when it is.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Heather. This
Well,
has been a
thank you for
really fun
inviting,
conversation.
yeah, thank you for inviting me into the living room. I
Yeah, this
love
is
it.
what it's all about. I love it. Yeah, this is it. This is how we're going to do it. And we might do more of these.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.